XRP, they just announced it. Please read the disclaimer. Hello, beautiful people. Shalom, money makers. We got a lot to talk about. It's Saturday today. Happy Saturday. XRP is currently sitting at $1.46, down 0.5% on the day. But we got some great news for XRP holders that opens the door to a significant amount of possibilities. We got an update from the president on Clarity Act. And some interesting new updates, US China, US Iran, and everything that's happening around there. So right now, XRP is chilling, like I said, there at $1.46. Not a lot of action happening on the top cryptos overnight. Bitcoin pulled back a little bit from the high yesterday. It hit the resistance level at 78,000 and sent the rest of the crypto market back down with it. Again, Ethereum also almost 0.75%. Solana also 0.5%. So the top dogs continue to move more or less together when movements happen. Although we talked about it, how XRP and Solana are still a little bit behind Bitcoin and Ethereum that have recovered to even higher levels than they had seen previously in mid-March, right? And XRP is still behind. XRP did not have the crossover yet on the 1348 EMA, which could potentially come. But we did see the total 3, which is all the crypto market outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum, crossover on the trend line, and also crossover on the 1348 EMA on the daily chart. So there is optimism that the others, right, you could call them, are going to catch up with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it will be very interesting over the next coming days to see what could potentially happen there. If we look at others that we've talked about, Rave continues to go up another 19% here, 26 already. Holy smokus, it ain't no jokis. What an amazing run. We've talked about that in length. XRP, like I said, the moving averages are looking better as we see, XRP come up a little bit. We still have the 100 and the 200 moving averages that are not too happy, but the short-term averages are getting better and better here for XRP, and so it will be very interesting to see as we get closer and closer to the Clarity Act countdown, what will happen with the price action. Some people on the internet are already saying that this is a false pump, this is a bull trap, and that we're going to see the market turn around pretty fast here. Time will tell. We'll find out in the next coming weeks if this was all a trap or is this actually, a momentum here. Listen, there's a lot of contradictions. There's a lot of conflicting things that are coming out right now, especially from the president and what's happening. You can say here, Iran's Speaker of Parliament says President Trump made 7 claims in 1 hour, all of which were false. He says the U.S. did not win the war with these lies, and they will not certainly get anywhere with the negotiations. With the continuation of the blockade, the strait will not remain open. And we'll get to the blockade in just a second. President Trump had some interesting things to say about that. Passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be conducted based on the designated route with Iranian authorization. Basically, they said that the U.S. ships and Israeli ships are still banned from crossing, even if there is, open for other ships. But there's still a blockade, so the U.S. decides what goes through and what doesn't go through. Whether the strait is open or closed and regulations governing it will be determined by the field, not by social media. And continues to say, that Trump is saying a lot of stuff. I just read that, President Trump said a lot of it is to confuse them. So he says, sometimes I tweet a lot of stuff and a lot of statements in order to confuse. That's the theory behind it, maybe. But the White House did tweet out this tweet, says President Xi is very happy that the strait is open and or rapidly opening. Our meeting in China will be a special one and potentially historic. I look forward to being with President Xi. Much will be accomplished. The fact that the U.S. and China are, warming up a little bit, I think is good for the markets. It's good for the world. We know what happened, in October 10th when Trump had that 300% tariff, and then October 10th happened because of that. Well, not because of that, but that was the trigger that started the sell-off. And so it's going to be very important for the market, for the world, that China and the US are in good relations going forward. We don't need more shenanigans. But Trump says that, well, actually, let's let him say it.
If you don't have a deal by Wednesday when the ceasefire ends, will you extend the ceasefire or will you start attacks again?
Maybe I won't extend it.
Okay.
But the blockade is going to remain. But maybe I won't extend it. So you have a blockade, and unfortunately, we'll have to start dropping bombs again.
If you don't have a deal by Wednesday.
So now they're talking about Wednesday, which is the 2 weeks that the ceasefire was initially supposed to fall on. This is interesting. I remembered it was the weekend, but it wasn't the weekend. It was a holiday. It was Passover. So that's why I thought it was like a Saturday, because my days got all mixed up when that was going on because of the holiday. So yeah, it was in the middle of the week. It was the Wednesday. So the clock is ticking on that too, right? The countdown continues with that. And of course, the ceasefire had the markets joyful, right? We saw, of course, the stock market recover significantly, but if the right, even create new highs. But if I'm losing my voice, but if that all gets canceled, we could see a big sell-off here. So it will be very interesting to see how the markets are going to play out over the next coming days and what happens geopolitically. As always, I just want to remind you that this video is for educational purposes, for entertainment purposes only, not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. Day to day, I don't know what the president's going to say, what the Iranians going to say, what's going to happen with the Clarity Act. So I don't know what the price action is going to be. Right now, we're in a positive momentum, but things can change, okay? That's very important to remember. Also, remember that I will never contact you on social media asking to sign up to anything or to send me any money. Those are scammers, those are imposters. Please be very careful out there, my friends, my amigos, my chaverim. So what could potentially happen here going forward? We'll see. But this was just confirmed. You remember yesterday or the day before, we talked about the cryptic tweet from the Solana page that just said XRP. And people were like, did Solana's account just get hacked? Right? Because that was surprising. But apparently it was true. And it was just confirmed by Ripple and Brad. You can see here, Wrapped XRP is now live on Solana, enabled by Hex Trust and Layer 0 Core. Growing demand for XRP is driving liquidity cross-chain, opening new paths across ecosystems and expanding the overall market. Brad says demand for XRP keeps growing, more access, more ecosystems, more utility. And if you're saying to yourself, well, what can we actually do here? So here's what this actually means. XRP stays on XRP. A wrap version, back 1-to-1, is now available on Solana. You can take your XRP and put it to work inside Solana's DeFi, liquidity pools, lending, yield, collateral, same assets, more utility. For Solana, it gains access to XRP's liquidity and one of the largest holder bases in crypto. For XRP, it expands beyond its native rails into another high-speed ecosystems. Assets aren't staying locked in one chain anymore. They're moving where the opportunity is. More environment means more usage means more real demand. XRP just got another lane to operate in. We talked about a lot that in the end, we're going to have usage, right? The more usage we have for XRP, the more usage we have potentially to make our XRP work, the better, right? And that could potentially, again, down the line in the future, affect the price of XRP. Right now, not so much. We know that the price action, of course, is being, you could call it suppressed, you could call it being manipulated by the powers that be right now because of Clarity Act, right? Clarity Act is the stone, the boulder on the shoulders of the crypto market right now. And if we wouldn't have had this all sell-off, I do think that XRP would have been around maybe even 270 right now. If we wouldn't have had Coinbase pulling out there initially, I think we would have been maybe in this range, around the $3 range. So 100% movement from where we are right now. That's what I think. Again, we don't know. It's the second timeline type of scenario. We've talked about previously the second timeline with Trump not winning the election. This is also kind of a second timeline. You could say October 10th, second timeline also. What would have happened if Trump wouldn't have tweeted out that 300% tariff on China, and it wouldn't have happened over the right? It was the weekends, right? If I remember correctly, because the stock market pulled back after that. But it was the weekend. Yeah, it was Friday. So it was Friday after the market closed, and then we had that sell-off. I remember I was in Thailand at the time, and I went to sleep because it's it's hours before the U.S. And then I woke up and I was like, "Whoa, what happened?" So I missed everything. I was asleep. Um, so that's also, a second timeline. There's many things in life and in investing in our journeys that we can say, what would have happened? What could have the second timeline be? How could have this played out? But at the end of the day, we can't say coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? I have so many trades that when I'm looking back, I said, oh, why couldn't have I just, done this or done that? Or why, right? It doesn't help you. You have to learn from those mistakes and move forward. And sometimes, because we're human, we make the same mistakes, and sometimes we don't. Those people that are actually very, very successful are the ones that are able to not make the same mistakes over and over and over. But most humans, most people, they'll make the same mistakes, right? For example, I know most of you are guys, so ladies, I'm sorry right now that I'm referencing this scenario, but only 10% of you are 90% of you are guys. So let's say your wife says, honey, lately you've not been doing this, that, and that. And then for about a week or two, you're a good boy. You listen to your wife and you make an effort. And then what happens? Usually you fall back into the same pattern and you stop doing what she asks, right? And then eventually what happens, sometimes, not every single time, the partners get into a boiling point where it keeps happening, the same pattern, and then sometimes divorce or breaking up, and that happens. Same thing with traders. You keep doing the same thing. Sometimes you can continue to go on, but what happens in the end is this: if you just keep doing the same thing, you lose everything. You lose your whole account. So I'm referencing it like that. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not. Let me know in the comment section. Usually it's the guys that are the dum dums. So, what could potentially happen here is still up on the table. We'll see. Again, long term, I'm very, very bullish on the crypto market. I brought this week like a reference of all the things that are J.P. Morgan and Morgan Stanley and Schwab and all these companies that are jumping into the crypto market right now with ETFs. And we just saw the cash tags, but that's also crypto and stocks that went up on X this week and was a big success. There's a lot of things that could potentially push the crypto market forward, but right now it's very, very lull. I know the last few days have been good, which is good. But I want continuation. I want to see recovery. I want to see XRP gain some momentum back towards $2. That's what I'm looking for right now. Some signs are telling me that we might be a little bit stressed, like the stochastic RSI that went from the bottom to the top here on the daily chart. But on the flip side, we're about to see a crossover on the 1348 EMA, which could signal a very, very bullish movement. It kind of reminds me, again, it doesn't mean that this is going to play out like this. It reminds me a little bit about July 2025 when we saw that big run up. So maybe we could see something similar like that right now. It will be very interesting to see how that plays out. Again, that's only a scenario that could potentially happen. President Trump just tweeted about the Clarity Act, and the Genius Act. He tweeted out here, the Genius Act is being threatened and undermined by the banks, and that is unacceptable. We are not going to allow it. The U.S. needs to get market structure done ASAP. Americans should earn more money on their money. The banks are hitting record profits, and we are not going to allow them to undermine our powerful crypto agenda that will end up going to China and other countries if we don't get the Clarity Act taken care of. The Genius Act was the USA's first big step to make the United States the crypto capital world, and getting the Clarity Act done is the next step to finish the job. Most importantly, keep the big, powerful industry in the country. The banks should not be trying to undercut the Genius Act or hold the Clarity Act hostage. They need to make a good deal with the crypto industry because that's what interests of the American people. The industry cannot be taken from the American when it's so close to becoming truly successful. Thank you for the attention to their matter. And this is an old post, by the way, but it was just retweeted by Representative Hugh Blackwell, right, Republican member of North of Representative. He says, we need to get the job done. And even though this is an old post, it's important to remember that we need to get the job done. The clock is ticking. And hopefully we can get the Clarity Act passed. We can get this into motion, even though it may not be the best Clarity Act that we could have gotten here. But I think that it's better to have it than to not have it, because we talked about how the fact that the SEC put its guidelines out is good, but without that stamp of approval, and even though, we brought Patrick DeWitt's tweet that he said the Democrats are like laying down arms against the crypto markets, they could, things could change and they could come back after the crypto market again if there is no legislation in place. You see how hard it is to get a law passed. Think about how hard it would be to reverse it. And so it will be very interesting to see how this gets passed. If it does get passed, I'm positive. I'm going to be positive about this, that it does get passed. But again, I don't know. I'm not a time traveler. I'm not from the future. I don't know how exactly things are going to play out. And we'll see. We'll see what will potentially happen here. Let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think we'll see it in the next coming weeks, 3-4 weeks? Do you think the ceasefire will end here and we'll go back to the shenanigans? My wife was like, I'm ready for another vacation. I'm like, honey, vacation it is not, with the kids at home. But she's like, I want to, she got used to be at home because she also had her operation. And then, so it was like a long time that she didn't go to work. So it will be very interesting to see what happens, going forward. And the markets, of course, will react accordingly, but time will tell how it is going to play out. Very, very interesting times ahead of us. Don't forget to smash the like button. Check out the links in the description down below. Subscribe to the channel. I don't know why I'm like minus 14 on the month of subscribers. Suddenly, like every day, 7 are dropping. I think YouTube is doing like cleaning house or something from all the bots. Could be, but it's just weird because I've never seen it like this happen before. So interesting. But it's actually funny the way the YouTube algorithm works. It's better that people actually don't kind of subscribe to your channel. I don't know. It's funny to hear that because you see, for example, channels that have millions of subscribers, but are only getting, like 20,000 views, 30,000 views. And actually the algorithm really doesn't like that your subscribers not watching your stuff. It's better to have, let's say, 30,000 or maybe even 100,000 subscribers, but 30,000 people watching it. The algorithm is like, oh, 30% of his subscribers, like, I'll push it to other people. And so actually, funny enough, again, you can subscribe or not subscribe, but if there's a channel that you never watch, it's better that you just unsubscribe for their sake, because then the algorithm maybe will push it to new people that actually want to watch their content. I don't know. That's just what I've learned over 5 years, that's what it seems to be happening. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. They always keep changing it on me, the way that the algorithm works. I don't know. But it will, if you're subscribed, not subscribed, I appreciate you anyway. Okay. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. And like I always say, let's make a lot of money.